Welcome again to Cottage Talk. I am Russ Goldman. This is my match preview, my three keys to victory for Fulham against Sunderland. I am live on YouTube, live on X, and live on the Cottage Talk Facebook page for probably next 20 to 30 minutes. I'm going to share my thoughts on this upcoming match, share my thoughts on Marco's presser, and my thoughts on Marco. So this should be an interesting show. Just want to mention that if you want to listen to it, this is actually exclusive on the Cottage Talk Patreon page. But to watch it, you can certainly watch it back. And I appreciate everyone that watches and listens to Cottage Talk. Thank you very much for everyone that participates in watching or listening to the show, and obviously comments as well. Thank you, everyone. Okay. So let's get to my opening thoughts, and I'll be sharing my thoughts on Marco's presser coming up next. But before I do that, just it's been a very difficult period for Fulham Football Club. Anyone that has followed the club can attest to that. This is the first time Marco's really been under some serious pressure, and I think it's warranted because of not just the position that Fulham are in, but also the fact that he's not signed a contract. We'll get to that coming up. And also his style of play, which he refuses to change at all during a match. He's just very rigid on how he sets Fulham up. And I think there are questions on that. And I'll be sharing my view on Marco coming up after I share my thoughts on the presser. This is a massive match for Fulham Football Club in regards to the season in hand. I'm looking more big picture, but if I'm being honest, the more matches they continue to lose, they will be in a relegation battle that no one wants. And I don't want it. No one wants it. There are reasons for it. But right now, Fulham need to get themselves out of it. They need to figure out a way to get all 3 points against the Sunderland side that is playing very well. And it's going to be a difficult match for Fulham to get anything out of it. Dare I say, win it is going to be very difficult. So we shall see how this all plays out. So let's get to talking about Marco's presser, and Jack Kelly actually had some interesting comments that he actually shared on X, and I'm going to share them now, and I'll read them out, and I'll give you my thoughts on what Marco said in the presser today, at least when talking about his contract. This is from Jack Kelly. Silva on contract offer. Quote, "Not many things to share. Grateful for the interest from the club. We've had some conversations with the owner, Tony, and CEO. I was with Mr. Khan last month too. Some meetings about the situation with Muniz and Jeddah." Another quote, "They know I love being at the club. They know I'm not an easy guy to deal with all the time. They recognize the job everyone is doing. The will and the desire is there. Let's see what the news will be. Nothing new for now." One more quote, "I know what the club needs to develop to grow. We have to be all on the same page to help the club progress." Unquote. Okay. So my thoughts on what Marco shared in the presser, and also very interesting little tidbit there, is that Aaron Lapolo could potentially be involved in some way in this match, which I am all for. I am glad that Marco is willing to potentially use him against Sunderland. We shall see, because you have the situation with Rodrigo Muniz being out. You have Raul coming back from international duty. You have a young kid. Give him a chance. That's been my thoughts on Aaron Lapolo. I saw him play this summer. He did nothing wrong. He actually showed some promise. Maybe it's his time. We shall see. I don't expect him to start, but maybe he'll come off the bench. We shall see. But it's just interesting what's going on at Fulham Football Club. And Marco is, I think, said what most would think would be the right thing, dancing around the issue of his contract and all that. I don't think he said anything wrong. But you know what? That's what you do at pressers. You try to avoid really telling us anything. And in a way, he really didn't tell you anything you didn't already know. He just danced around it in such a way that a professional manager can do, and he did that. So kudos to him for really just sticking to the script on that. And honestly, I do want to just throw this out. The situation with this contract, as someone pointed out to me, is nothing unusual for a client of George Mendes, because I'm used to this here in America with, say, an agent like Scott Boras, who basically will tell his client what to say, what to do, to try to push all the buttons and not to sign a contract until you really need to sign a contract. Basically, you hold all the cards. And that's what Mendes, I think, has done with Silva. Silva, I believe, this is my opinion, maybe planted some stories in all of this. And basically, I think Marco Silva really is calling all the shots. He will sign if he wants to sign, and he won't sign if he doesn't want to sign. And the club is just going to wait and see. They're going to give him an offer, and that's the way they're going to play it out. And again, my view on Marco Silva is this: I expect him to be the Fulham manager the rest of the season. I do, because regardless of the results, I know people might disagree with me that he'll be under more pressure if they lose to Sunderland and the match is coming up. That might be the perception, but I don't see the cons moving on from Marco Silva this season. I think they're all in, and I think they're going to see this out regardless of how this plays out with Marco Silva to the end of the season, and then they're going to take it from there. But I don't expect Marco to sign a new contract. I really don't. I think he's going to do what I thought he would do and wait until the end of the season, call his own shots. And I understand that on his point of view. As a Fulham supporter, I hate it, because I think the uncertainty has caused problems for the club. I think it's caused problems, potentially players wanting to come to the club. So if you're asking me, I've given this a lot of thought on Marco Silva. Do I want him to stay or do I want him to go? So I've now come to the conclusion, I've gone back and forth on this, that I actually want him to stay to the end of the season. But I want the Cons to move on from Marco Silva. I want them to use the time, hopefully they've been doing this already, to find their next manager. Because Marco Silva, for me, shouldn't be the Fulham manager beyond this season. Regardless of the results, it's time for these different sides to move on from each other. My issue with Marco is the fact that he's not willing to change. He plays a certain way. He, I think, does not want to change anything that he puts out there. When we look at the team, there'll be a good game plan against Sunderland. I believe it to be true, but he won't make any in-game adjustments. I know that. I've watched enough. I think there's a ceiling on what Marco can give Fulham Football Club. I was asked a while ago, has Marco taken Fulham as far as he can? The answer is yes, in my opinion. It's yes. So I think they need to find that next manager, just like other clubs have done. Aston Villa has done. Bournemouth has done. And Brentford has done. All these clubs move on from their managers and they find the next manager. Brentford might not be the best example. I'll use Crystal Palace as a fantastic example, where they got Glasner. Find the next manager that you believe can take you to the next level, to Europe. Now, right now, that ain't happening. That's not going to happen. And I think part of it is that Marco is not willing to change how he plays. And that, to me, is just not something that I'm down with anymore. I respect what he's offered Fulham Football Club. He has stabilized the club. I am very appreciative to all of that. But he has told everyone how ambitious he is. Well, I'm ambitious, and I don't see his ambition matching my ambition, because I don't think that his ambition actually is with Fulham Football Club. I think it's someplace else. I think he proved that this summer, where he took meetings with Levy at Tottenham Hotspur. In fact, I heard he had multiple meetings. He wanted that job, in my opinion. He was pushing to get out. So that's his ambition. I don't think I think he would like Fulham to be where he wants to be, but I don't think he is willing to make the changes within the way he plays to get Fulham to that place. And I think he has not shown the ability to adapt. I think he does things his way, and it's the only way. And I think that causes some problems. So for me, I'm ready for Marco Silva, and I expect Marco Silva to be Fulham's manager the rest of the season. And then it's time to move on. That's where I am on Marco Silva. That's how I feel. You can agree or disagree with me, but that's how I'm feeling about Marco. All right. So let's get to my 3 keys to victory for Fulham against Sunderland, who are a very good side. They remind me a little bit of Crystal Palace. You could say Nottingham Forest, but a little bit like that, where they're going to be difficult to beat. They are doing very well. To be honest with you, I don't see them being where they are now at the end of the season, but they deserve all the credit in the world. They are playing phenomenal football, but in the style that they want to play. And they will make things very difficult for Fulham Football Club on Saturday. I'm prepared for that. So here are my 3 keys to victory. Number 3, Fulham must match the intensity of Sunderland. And if they don't, it'll be like watching Fulham play against Crystal Palace. If you can't match that, they will eventually kill you. They will take advantage of their opportunities. I saw that against Crystal Palace, and I see this in a very similar manner. They have to be on top of this from the get-go. And if they're not, if they drop their guard even a little bit, Sunderland are going to win this match. That's why matching the intensity of Sunderland, I think, is a must, and that's why that's my number 3. That's going to lead to my number 2, because Fulham's back 4 cannot afford a mistake. That goes with the intensity. This team will take advantage of an error that you make, and if you allow them to, you are going to get hurt big time. You cannot win by making mistakes at the back against Sunderland. I expect them to take advantage of any opportunity that they get, and Fulham have to be at it with their back 4 and, of course, Burn Leno. And I could also throw in Berga as cover. Cannot make mistakes against this team. They will kill you. That's my number 2 key to victory. And my number 1 goes back to Marco. Marco has to win the coaching battle. Now, the big issue heading into this match, and if you're a Sunderland fan, you should know this. You might not know this. Fulham struggle against the formation that you're going to play. They have never figured it out under Marco Silva. So I expect them to struggle. And until they figure this out, Marco cannot get Fulham, in my opinion, to where they need to be. This is a formation that terrorizes Fulham Football Club. They cannot figure it out. They always seem to give up the mistake. Marco has to set his team up and be brave, and he needs to make the right decisions. And I think that he really needs to change things up. I don't expect him to, but he needs to win the coaching battle. He needs to get the starting 11 right, needs to get the substitutions right. If he gets all that right, Fulham have a chance. But like I said, I'm not feeling hopeful going into this match. I'm just not, and that'll show itself in my prediction. Okay, so let's go to the starting 11. This will be my starting 11. This is what I would go with. And he's not going to go with this. So I look at what's been going on with Fulham Football Club, and I'd be changing things up big time. Leno would be your goalkeeper. Tete would be your right back. Your left back's going to be Ryan Sessegnon. Your center back pairing, this is what I would do. I'm going to Diop and Cuenca. Yes, I'm going there. And in the middle, I am going with Berga, Iwobi, and I will go with Josh King. On the left, I'm going with Kevin. On the right, I'm going to go with Harry Wilson. And up front, I'm going to go with Raul Jimenez. That's what I'm going to go with in regards to my starting 11. However, I will say this. I would be willing to figure a way to play Smith Rowe and King together at some point. He's not going to do that. What I think Marco's going to do, I think he'll play the Goalkeeper will be the same, obviously. The fullbacks will be the same. I believe it'll be Anderson and Bassey as your center back pairing. This is what I think it's going to be. I think it is going to be Berga, Iwobi, and King. On the left, I think it will be Wilson. I'm sorry, on the right. And on the left, it'll be Kevin, and up front, it'll be Raul Jimenez. So I think he will do something similar. But if I'm being honest, I would love to see him be brave and potentially play something like again, this would be very brave to have Iwobi, Smith Rowe, and have it been Iwobi, Smith Rowe, and King. I would love to see that and sit Berga. He's not going to do that. He's certainly not going to do that. That would be a drastic change. I would love to see that at some point, to be honest with you. So that's what I think Marco is going to do. And that's going to lead to finishing up the show by giving you my prediction for the match. And it's this. I am predicting a 2-0 victory for Sunderland. I don't have confidence in Fulham right now. I don't have confidence in them being able to break down this formation that they're going against until you can show me you're going to do it when they play against this formation. It's hard for me to pick a victory, let alone a point. So it's sad for me to say, but I don't do this too often except against, say, the traditional Big Six. But I'm going to give a lot of credit to Sunderland, but also this has more to do with Fulham not being able to handle this formation. 2-0 to Sunderland. Saddens me to do that, but that's just how I feel. All right. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of Cottage Talk. My name is Russ Coleman. Thank you as always for watching and listening to Cottage Talk.